Hey YouTube, Matthew Decker, Leverage Wealth Management. Hope that you're doing well. I run Cash Value Life Insurance Reviews here on YouTube, and I'm excited today to roll out a new series on Index Universal Life Insurance for Dummies. It's an 8-part series where every video is 7 minutes or less, specifically targeting a topic around Index Universal Life Insurance, and I hope that you enjoy. So let's continue our talk about life insurance with something that's a little bit more sexy. Okay, so why should you consider cash value life insurance for supplemental retirement planning, for cash accumulation, for tax-free growth? Why should you consider it? Probably the sexier tagline, especially with Index Universal Life Insurance, and that is zero is your hero. So what we've got here is a market comparison. And we do a lot of Monte Carlo simulations. Now, a Monte Carlo simulation is not something that you're going to see in this foundational video series. It's a lot more complex, but I'll make it really short, sweet, simple. A Monte Carlo simulation is where you basically role play out 1,000 or 10,000 different market scenarios. So if retirement's going to last 40 years, you do 1,000 or 10,000 variations on that 40-year stretch of time to get a bunch of different market scenarios, good markets, bad markets, okay markets. And so what we did here, just so that you know what's happening, is we did a Monte Carlo simulation, and we took one of the bad market cycles. So of the 1,000 trials that we ran, this one happened to have a return, an indexed return of 1.53%. What that means is there was a bunch of big negative years. Okay, so we took a bunch of bad negative market years and we said, well, what if we had purchased an indexed universal life insurance policy? How would it have performed? And the great thing about indexed universal life, and one of the reasons you should consider it absolutely, is because in bad markets, Index Universal Life Insurance outperforms the stock market, and it should. That's what it's supposed to do. In bad markets, it outperforms. And when we say zero is your hero, here's what we mean. So we've got this chart here on the left, and we've got a bunch of negative returns. Let me get out my laser pointer here. We got a bunch of negative returns. So this is like a -7. This is a -10. This is a negative maybe 16. We've got another -14, -5, -7, -12, -5. 0% is right here in the middle. And when we say zero is your hero, Index Universal Life Insurance doesn't go backwards when the stock market goes backwards. The worst that you can do is a 0% rate of return. And so let's circle all of these kind of 0% years here and talk about it. Let me get rid of my laser pointer. So we've got this first year, -7. What happens in the IUL on the right? 0%. Next year, -10 is a 0. A -16, 17 is a 0, so on and so forth. The worst that you can do is a 0% return. And so in these years where the stock market is not cooperating, why should you consider life insurance? Because when the stock market is not cooperating, the life insurance policy outperforms the market. That's what it's built. That's what it's designed to do. And it does it really, really well. On the flip side, in really good markets, so when the stock market is just zooming, and so in this Monte Carlo simulation, we just looked at a bad market cycle. Let's look at a good market cycle. So this would be considered a good market cycle. The index is returning around 8.24%. Our Index Universal Life Insurance policy is performing just under 6%. So why is it underperforming the stock market? Well, the reason it's underperforming the stock market, you can see there's a ton of huge returns in these. So we got a 20% return here. I got my pen here. Let's get the laser pointer. We got a 20% return here, 30% return, 40% return, 15, 20, 12, 25, 20. So like I said, a Monte Carlo simulation does 1,000 simulations. We pulled out one of the best ones. I mean, we've got in back-to-back-to-back years, zero is way down here. So we're barely ever below zero, and we've got, a 15, a 25, a 27, and a 40 in back-to-back years. So this is like phenomenal market scenario. Well, in these phenomenal market scenarios, you're not going to capture the entire market upside. So you're not going to capture any of the market downside. That's what we just looked at. But you're not going to capture all of the market upside. In this example, you're going to get 12.5%. So when the market's up at 20% here, your IUL, your cash value life insurance policy is at 12.5. When we're at 30, 40, 27 up here, again, you're capped at 12.5. When we're in the 15s, 12.5, so on and so forth. You get the idea. The most that you can capture from the market is going to be 12.5%. So what are you actually doing? Well, what you're doing is you're trading an unlimited downside risk for a limited upside risk. So you bump up against the cap on the upside, and yet you bounce off the floor on the downside. So you bounce off the floor, you hit up against the cap, you're trading an unlimited downside for a limited, in this case, 12.5% is your total upside. And so the reason that we say you should consider life insurance is because what does this sound like to you? It outperforms in bad markets. It underperforms in good markets. To me, that sounds like what the bond component of your portfolio is supposed to do. And yet, cash value life insurance has better diversification than bonds because you have more to choose from. I mean, you're tracking an S&P index that is made up of the 500 largest stocks in the stock market. And so you have better diversification than you would with bonds, and you have higher upside. So we pulled some AAA rated munis here. We're at basically a 3% rate of return on your 20-year AAA rated muni bond, which is also going to be tax-free at the national level. And yet when we look at cash value life insurance and the possible returns from cash value life insurance, if you have 15 years of a time horizon, 100% of the policies in any 15-year block, this is going back to, I believe, 2004, would have returned 6% or better. So every single 15-year block that exists since 2004 would have performed at 6% or better, which is awesome. Every 10-year block, 100% of the 10-year blocks have performed at 6% or better. If you take any 5-year period and you say, what's the average return of this 5-year period? 91% of any 5-year period, 6% or better. And so which would you rather have? The product that gives you a very similar risk profile. It outperforms in bad markets. It underperforms in good markets. Would you rather have the one that's averaging 6 or the one that's averaging 3? And that, my friends, is why you should consider cash value life insurance, because it is a perfect replacement for bonds, higher upside, more diversification, and it's tax-free, both the death benefit and the growth. The same thing can't be said for any type of bond unless it's held inside a Roth IRA, which we'll get to in a bit.